raw ingredients. They what needs our body, because when people started to cook, but nobody cooked in nature.
Yo, what's going on, guys? So today I want to go over some reasons why some men struggle when it comes to dating here in Ukraine. And this video isn't made to discourage anybody. It's more so to help you guys out so you don't make the same mistake when you decide to visit Ukraine. So the first thing that I've noticed from just looking around, observing the environment, as well as talking to women, is that men that tend to struggle here struggle because they rely purely on their looks. So obviously this is the guys that are seen as good looking guys back in their home country, and they try to come here to Ukraine and rely on the same thing. And women just don't fly like that here. They tend to like men that are more in a masculine frame. And when you are just relying on your looks, that's actually seen as something very feminine. They see that's something that women should be relying on, and the men should be focused on other things. So that's a big no-no here in Ukraine, because they care more about your masculinity. And to give you an example, I've been in contact with a Ukrainian girl for a while now, and there was an instance when I was actually doing some handy work. I was fixing a fence. I told her this, and she was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm actually doing some fixing a fence, also doing some work around the property, etc." And she was like, "Oh my God, that's so sexy. I love that. Oh my God, like I really, really love that." Whereas when I told her in the past about like, "Oh, okay, like I'm building this marketing campaign, etc., this and that," she just like shrugged that off, right? That was like, "Oh, okay, like that's not cool, right?" I like to hear like you doing manly stuff, fixing things, getting stuff done. So that's what they're into. They're into that type of stuff. They like guys who are able to handle things, get things done, and be handy. So that's what they're attracted to. They're not attracted to the guy who is a model. I'm sorry, this is no disrespect to guys who are models out there, but that's not what they're into. They're into masculine men that can handle things, men that are physical, men that are masculine. So that's the number one thing that I notice, and the things that women have told me that they really don't care about here in Ukraine. So yeah, that's the number one thing, guys. So if you think you're a good looking guy back to where you're from, don't rely on that here in Ukraine. Obviously, it's not going to hurt you, but they can sense if you were a guy who thinks they could just get them back home just because they look good. That doesn't roll here, guys. So scratch that out. Go ahead on and add some other things to your plate besides pure looks. Number two thing that guys do wrong when they come to visit Ukraine, and this is something that I also did wrong at the beginning, was having the same approach that you have elsewhere. Things that you do in the US, Latin America, Western Europe is not necessarily going to work here in Ukraine. Ukraine is an extremely different environment. The women typically they don't have the same sensitivity to the things that women in the West have sensitivity to. So you have to go about things differently. You can't simply ask a girl out on a date and expect to have the same results that you have in Brazil as you have in Ukraine. You have to go about things differently. And I found that out very quickly, that I cannot say the same line. I cannot pursue and do things the exact same way that I've done elsewhere across the world. So that's the number two thing, is you cannot have the same approach. I will not to detail exactly what approach you should do in Ukraine, but this is something I'll either make a video about in the future, or this is something you need to reach out to me directly about, and I can go over that with you. But that's the number two thing that I've noticed here in Ukraine, that you cannot rely on the same approach that you have elsewhere, because it's different. But this is something that I think shouldn't deter you away from visiting Ukraine. I think it's something that should be embraced, and me personally, I really truly embraced it. When I tell people that things are different, it doesn't mean I don't like it. It just means it's different. And this is why I travel. I don't travel. I don't think men should travel to do the same stuff or to expect the same results. You should travel to actually learn and be able to know how to make things happen in different scenarios. And that's what Ukraine did. It gave me the ability to, okay, I need to transition. I need to do this instead of this. And then I'll get the result that I want. And that's exactly what I did. So that's the number 2. Have a different approach. And if you want to know a little bit more about that, reach out to me directly or wait for a video that I make in the future. Number 3, impatient. Here in Ukraine, and if you haven't set up enough time to be in Ukraine, you will struggle because things, I would say, go at a slower pace when it comes to dating. Typically, places mostly that I've traveled to in the past, you could just set up a drinking date and things could go well from there. But here in Ukraine, a lot of women are looking for marriage. So they're going to expect you to take more steps in order to get the result that you want. So that might require more time. And that does not mean they're not interested. I know typically in the West, they tell you, oh, if the girl's interested enough, she will do XYZ on the first date. Which, yes, that still holds true in Ukraine, specifically Kyiv, to a certain extent. Obviously, that's true. That is true. But like I said, to a certain extent, I think, let's say, I think the percentage is a little bit different in Ukraine. Let's say in the US, if a girl thinks you're an 8, right? She will still, and she still will do XYZ with you on the first date. Whereas in Ukraine, if she thinks you're an 8, she's going to make you wait another extra date. So that's kind of what I'm saying. I think the threshold is a little bit higher here. I think you need to be a 10 out of 10 in their eyes for you to get XYZ results that same day. Whereas in the US, all you have to be is an 8. So that's pretty much what I'm saying. So if she's not extremely high interested in you, you will have to wait. It will take more time, and they expect more of the traditional type dates where it's like dinner, drinks, conversation. You might go walk in a park. You might do things like that, which obviously typically isn't something you're going to be doing in Brazil. But here in Ukraine, that's how things roll. So the number 4 thing guys get wrong. So there's a stereotype, right? Eastern European have a stereotype. Everybody thinks they're extremely traditional. They think they are there to cater towards a man. They think they're extremely this, they're extremely that. They're going to like the fact that you're a foreigner. You're going to be able to flaunt your money, and then they're going to want you. Things like that. And I'm sorry to bust your bubble, but yes, culturally, they're different in a lot of ways than, let's say, the women in the West. But at the end of the day, they're still women. There are going to be some little tweaks and a little differences, obviously, from culture to culture. So at the end of the day, there's still going to be certain natural traits that they are going to do, regardless of what their culture is. So you can't go into these places expecting that, okay, I'm gonna find a wife in Ukraine because they're traditional, they're this, they're that, they're this. If you look at the records, Ukraine's divorce rate is not far off from the US. I think, don't quote me on this, I might be a little bit off, but I think it might be like US 44%, Ukraine 43, 42%. So it's extremely close. So obviously things when it comes to like marriage and stuff like that is not much different than the US. Women are still going to be women. Women are still going to have hypergamy. Women are still going to expect their man to constantly be on their purpose. So thinking you could come to Ukraine, find a wife, get fat, get lazy, and still be able to keep them, trust me guys, Ukrainian women are getting pursued by men globally. So it's probably even more competition. You're probably gonna have even more competition having a Ukrainian girlfriend than an American or a British girlfriend. So guys, don't get things twisted. I actually had somebody comment on my post saying, "Oh, you don't need game being in Ukraine. This isn't the West." Guys, all I'm gonna say is if you're talking to a certain quality girl, certain caliber female in Ukraine, trust me, you're gonna need to know what to do. You're gonna need to be on your purpose. You're gonna need to be extremely successful, because these women are being pursued by men globally, constantly, non-stop. You will be completely fooled if you think it's any different than the West when it comes to hypergamy, when it comes to women expecting their man to constantly be on their purpose. Trust me, guys, it's no difference here in Ukraine. But if you don't come here prepared, guys, it's gonna be rough. This place is not an easy place to come. You have to know what you're doing, but if you know what you're doing, you will be rewarded, because Ukrainian women are honestly one of the most beautiful in the world. They're extremely feminine, very submissive, and they will provide you with those things you're looking for if you also provide those things that I mentioned, what they're looking for. You will have a great time. But if not, you will struggle and you will hate it. You will go back to the US saying, "Oh man, the US isn't that bad." But other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, this was to help you out. This wasn't to tell you not to go there. This was just to lay down the things I think you should know before visiting. But other than that, guys, until next time, y'all take care.